Good morning and welcome to this episode of our Food Innovation Talk, presented in collaboration with Food Supply. My name is Thomas Jacobsen and I will be your host for this episode. Today we will be talking about 3D printed food, a technology that has been talked a lot about in the recent years, but where is it now? Is this really the technology that can disrupt the food sector? For this, we are visiting Danish Technological Institute in Aarhus to get some insights on this topic and how this is relevant for the food sector in the future. If you come up with questions during this episode, please feel free to send them to us directly. You can fill in the form right next to the video. And now I am very happy to introduce to you Mia Filsø-Falkenborg, Product Manager and PhD at the Danish Technological Institute. And to start with, can you please introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. So my name is Mia Filsø-Falkenborg. I'm from the Danish Technological Institute, working in our Center for Food Technology, being product manager for our area around process development. And also project manager for one of our big projects in 3D food printing.
Yes. And to start, basically, what is 3D food printing?
So 3D food printing is this whole new concept within food technology. It's a new concept that makes it possible to produce personalized foods on demand, and also to produce new types of food that are not possible to produce without 3D food printing. I've brought some examples of some pictures of some 3D printed foods. Some are from us here at DTI, some are from other projects and companies around Europe. Two of them are from a project called Performance, a big EU project where the aim was to produce meals for elderly with swallowing difficulties. There's also a picture of pasta being printed. And finally, also some pictures of some carrots that are printed in the shape of stars, and that is to make it more fun or appealing for children to eat the carrots. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but how does it work? We are standing here next to one version of a printer, but how is the technology working?
Yeah. So the technology is where it is now, at least, very similar to the technology that we know from 3D printing of plastics, for example. So there are a lot of different ways that you can 3D print, but the one that is most often being used in 3D food printing is the one that is illustrated here, where you have your food material inside a container, and then you have a piston that can extrude this material onto a plate, and then you can have either the plate or the extruder moving in 3 directions. And in this way, you build your food layer by layer until the final shape has been obtained. So there are other technologies as well, some that uses powder and so on, but this is the one that is most often being used in 3D food printing, and also the only one I have included in today's presentation. So these materials that go in the 3D printer, so where the technology is today, there are some requirements for the materials, that they have to be like soft or liquid enough for them to be extruded through the nozzle. But they also have to be solid or hard enough for them to contain its own structure after it has been printed, so that the structure doesn't collapse. So some of the ingredients that are being used today, some of those I've listed here. There's a lot of focus on dairy products. You can print different types of cheeses and also different types of desserts. We have worked a lot on printing fruits and vegetables. They can be printed either as they are, being pureed, and you can also add different ingredients. You can enrich them, for example, with healthy oils and so on. Now, a lot of people ask, can we print meat? And with the technology that we have today, then you cannot print something that is very similar to meat, but you can print some gels that are very rich in proteins. And then there's also a lot of work in printing different types of confectionery. It could be chocolates or candies and so on. And then I've put stabilizers on here as well, because several types of food can be printed in their natural shape, but you can sometimes obtain a bit better product if you add in some stabilizers. For example, to the vegetable gel. So you can print the vegetable purees as they are, but if you add a bit of stabilizer to it, then you obtain a better product. So most often you would also add different stabilizers to the food.
And then coming to this why. Why is this interesting? Why is this technology interesting?
So there are different reasons why this is interesting. One of them is this whole idea about being able to personalize food. So this is very similar to what you can imagine in the 3D printing of plastics. So the advantage of, one of the advantages at least, of 3D printing items in plastic is that you can produce each item specifically to your requirements. You don't have the mass production where you produce several items that are completely identical. You produce each item specifically to your specifications, and you produce it when you need it. And that is the basic idea of what we want to do also in the world of food. Instead of having cantinas or the like producing several identical meals, then we can have meals being produced to match the specific requirements of each person eating the meal. So that could be in terms of the food nutritional content, so how much total energy is in the food, or what type of nutrients are in it. It could also be, you can have different allergens for specific ingredients, you can have traditions or personal preferences for some specific ingredients over others. You can have different requirements for the texture, so there is a lot of focus on, say, elderly or hospitalized patients that have difficulties in swallowing. They have some specific requirements for the type of texture that they can eat. That can be, for example, achieved also by blending the food, but then also comes in this appearance aspect. So you can also personalize the appearance of the food, and then, of course, also the taste. We also have different requirements for how much we like to eat. So the amounts of food that are being served in each meal can also be different, or we can have different preferences for that. And we also have differences in when we would like to eat it. So the idea is also to develop some technology that can produce this personalized food on demand. One that each of us like, but the idea is also to develop some technology that can do this in an automated way, so we save resources that way. So the personalization is one of the reasons why you would want to 3D print food. Another reason is that it gives us some new opportunities to produce new foods, some foods that we cannot produce if we don't have the printing technology. And to illustrate that, I've brought some pictures from my colleagues working with 3D print of plastics. And that is to illustrate the structure that can be achieved. When you build your items layer by layer, you can achieve this new degree of structure in the food. We believe we can exploit this layering structure to design some all new sensory properties in the food, or some new texture properties, or some new nutritional properties in the food, so that we produce new types of food that we cannot produce if we don't have this technology. And then finally, there is also a reason to do this, to produce this, but I've chosen to call it fun food. So it is something that we can do with the technology that we have today. And the basic idea is that we make food items to match, for example, a specific event. It can be logos or names printed in chocolate, or it can be a candy printed to match your personal preferences, the faces of the wedding couple on the wedding cake, and so on. So this technology exists today. You can buy 3D printers for your house. And there's, we think, a lot of market opportunities also for food producers to optimize their products so that they can be used with this new technology, so that they can offer their customers new products that are specifically produced to them with their specific requirements. We have a project ongoing about 3D food printing. It's called Personalised Food Products for Patients, and I would just like to introduce this project. It's a project that is funded by Innovation Fund Denmark. And the basic idea in the project is that we want to develop this technology so we can enable on-demand production of personalized food. In this project, we have hospitalized patients as our case at the Aalborg University Hospital. There's a specific group of head and neck cancer patients that have very large difficulties in eating. They don't have the desire to eat, and they have difficulties in swallowing, which means that they don't get the nutrition they need, which can be very harmful to their treatment. So we want to see if we can develop some new food for these patients, some food that has been specifically targeted their needs, both in terms of the texture, so that they are able to swallow it, but also something that is appealing and give them the desire to eat, and something that is being produced when they want to eat it and match their personal preferences for what types of food they like to eat. So with this project, the overall vision is to see if we can design some new technologies that can be used to help overcome some of these challenges that are related to malnutrition among hospitalized patients. We have 4 years for the project and a total budget of around 20 million Danish kroner. And we are 7 partners in total in the project. One part of the project is focusing on the technology development. And for that, we have created Real, working with Aarhus University, and also my colleagues here at DTI, working with 3D printing. We're also looking into the food and the food ingredients. For that, we work with DuPont, Arla, and also 2 research teams at University of Copenhagen and us here at DTI. And then we want to develop some technology that can be implemented in a hospital. We have Aalborg University Hospital in the project as well. Also working with a 3rd research team from University of Copenhagen and DTI, and generally all the partners in the project, of course, participate in this part. So this is an illustration of the project structure or our project plan. One key focus, as I said, is to develop this technology platform. So to develop or build a 3D printer that can produce these meals or in-between meals to the hospitalized patients. So this is a platform, so it's based on 3D printing, but it should also be able to say heat and cool and mix and all these things. So the final goal in the project is to have a prototype ready for such a platform that can be implemented at Aalborg University Hospital. And we also look into the food. One thing is to look at the food ingredient printability, so to see what types of food and what types of ingredients can be printed and how can we optimize the food so that the printability becomes better. That's one thing. Another thing is that we're looking into see if we can exploit this layer by layering structure to obtain some new sensory properties in the food and some new nutritional properties in the food as well. In all we do, we have the focus on the implementation part, that this is something that we want to be able to use in the hospital kitchen after the project. So all these aspects, sort of food safety, logistics, communication with existing systems in the hospitals and so on, is also a key focus in the project. So we have 3 years to do the first part, and then in the 4th year of the project, we have an ambition to go and test this platform in the hospital kitchen in Aalborg, try to serve a group of patients some printed meals, and to see how this works in real life, so that we at the end of the project knows what to do to bring this all the way to the market. Now, as I said, we are looking into this thing about food ingredient printability, and this is something we do a lot here also at DTI. And to do that, we have invested in a test printer, and it's this one I've brought. So this is not the printer that we're going to be using in Aalborg. This is just a test printer, and we can use it to test different types of food ingredients and see how do they behave when they are 3D printed. So this is the container where you place the food ingredients, the piston that can extrude it through this nozzle down onto this plate. In this system, it is the extruder that is moving in 3 directions, and then here it has printed our logo here at DTI. It's been printed in carrot mousse. This carrot has been added different types of oils in order to enrich it and to give it a higher nutritional content. So what we look into is to see, so can it be printed, first of all? Does it retain its structure after it has been printed, or does it collapse? They can take different pictures of it, measure its texture, and so on. So this was carrots. We're also testing other types of ingredients, and I've brought some pictures of some of the ingredients that we test. So generally what we do is we try to test many different types of ingredients within all like categories of food, like proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, and so on. This is a study of some different hydrocolloids. Sorry, I cannot present the details, but it's a study of 2 different types of hydrocolloids in different concentrations and also in different combinations. What I want to present here is to see like very small differences in the concentration gives very big differences in the final product, from being very soft to being very good to retain its own structure after it has been printed. So these are some of the initial experiments that we're doing. We're optimizing the ingredient composition and also the printer parameters, like what is the temperature, what is the extrusion speed, and so on. And that is to obtain a food product that can be printed, and then to use that as a base to look into this whole layering structure and what we can achieve with the sensory properties and the texture and so on from the food. So we've been working on this project now for 1 year, and during that 1 year, we have produced the first printer prototype, mainly at Aarhus University. And there's a short video here showing it in action, printing a small pizza based primarily on vegetables. This printer can print several different types of food at once in one setting. It is printing a pizza here. The pizza is ideal to demonstrate this whole concept because a pizza by nature is it's produced layer by layer, right? You have the dough and then the sauce and the cheese on top. So this is not to say that we're going to be serving pizzas to the hospitalized patients, but it's a case study for us to see what can the printer do and what do we need to optimize in order to make it even better. So from now on in the remainder of the project, we're looking more into achieving higher production speed, higher capacity, testing different types of food ingredients, looking into the cleaning, and so on. Yeah?
Yeah. Thank you. And the future of 3D printing food, how does that look?
Bright, I think. This is a new technology, and it brings a lot of new opportunities for different industries. So this project that I have presented is a project where we have the hospitalized patients as our case group. But there are other groups of people as well who could also benefit from this thing about personalized food. Could be elderly, could be children, so on. You have NASA also looking into 3D food printing and for space traveling and to bring freshly prepared food long distances and so on. And then there's new opportunities to bring all new types of food products to the market, something that is not on the market today, something we can only achieve if we have this printing technology. Could be snacks produced on demand, personalized in between meals, and so on. So in general, there's a lot of opportunities for different industries, both in the technologies developers, food companies, ingredient companies, and so on. Yeah. So if you're interested in learning more and also to see more of the printer, then you can come meet us at FoodTech in Herning next month. We are in 5012. And you're also very welcome to call me, write me an email, or ask your questions now, I guess. Yeah.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you.
And following your presentation, I would like to ask you one question. What do you see as barriers for the food companies to incorporate this technology?
Yeah. For example, I mentioned this thing about, I called it fun food, but food items that are being printed, so that they meet in shape and size and so on, they can meet the requirements of the customers. That technology already exists. Barriers could be that you need to optimize your food product so that it can be used with a 3D printer. It has to have these specific textures in order for it to be printed and also retain its structure afterwards. So you would need to optimize the food product so that it can be used with a printer. But other than that, the technology is there. You can buy a 3D food printer, bring to your house, print it at home with different recipes. But in terms of the whole thing about producing full meals that are personalized, there are still some barriers in terms of technology development. We still need to develop the printer more, increase the printing speed and so on, before this is something that can be fully implemented.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you still have some questions for Mia on this technology, you are more than welcome to send them to us, and we will forward them to Mia, and you will get an answer right your way. So once again, I would like to thank you, Mia, for this very inspiring presentation on this relevant topic. Yes, and as I said, send your questions to us directly, and we will give you an answer. Yes. If you want to stay updated on news from Danish Food Cluster and the coming food innovation talks, you can sign up to our newsletter on the bottom of our website. We hope to see you at our next food innovation talk that we will send on November 14th, where we will be sending live from FoodTech in Herning. Thank you.
Thank you for watching this food innovation talk by Danish Food Cluster. You can always visit our webpage for reviewing this food innovation talk. Hope to see you soon and have a nice day.